On March 15, 2022, at approximately 8:47 p.m., the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department received a 911 call from Lisa Campbell reporting that her husband had been shot at their residence in the Peabody-Darst-Webby neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri. The dispatcher noted that Campbell sounded distressed but coherent as she provided their address at 1423 South 14th Street. Officers Raymond Decker and Mariella Washington arrived at the scene within 7 minutes to find 27-year-old Jordan Anderson collapsed in the entryway of the apartment. Anderson was bleeding profusely from multiple gunshot wounds, including a critical injury to the head. He was unconscious but still breathing. Officer Washington immediately called for emergency medical services, while Officer Decker secured the scene. During the initial interview at the scene, Lisa Campbell, 26, told officers she had been watching a reality television program in the living room when she heard Jordan enter the apartment at approximately 8:40 p.m. According to her statement, this was immediately followed by the sound of multiple gunshots. Campbell claimed she dropped to the floor and hid behind the couch, fearful that the shooter might still be present. She stated that she waited approximately 3 to 4 minutes before emerging to find her husband wounded in the entryway. She then called 911 from her cell phone. Paramedics from the St. Louis Fire Department arrived at 9:02 p.m. and found Anderson with 6 distinct gunshot wounds. 2 to the chest, 1 to the abdomen, 2 to the left arm, and 1 to the right temple. The emergency medical team stabilized him at the scene before transporting him to Barnes Jewish Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. The trauma surgeon, Dr. Vivian Cho, later reported that despite the severity of his injuries, particularly the head wound, Anderson had survived the initial surgery but remained in critical condition. Detective Keshen Germain arrived at the scene at 9:25 p.m. and took charge of the investigation. His preliminary examination of the apartment revealed no signs of forced entry at either the front door or windows. The apartment appeared relatively orderly, with no indication of a struggle or ransacking. Detective Germain directed the forensic team to collect blood samples from the entryway, 9mm shell casings found within a 5-foot radius of where Anderson had fallen, and to dust for fingerprints on the door handle and surrounding surfaces. During a more extensive interview with Detective Germain, Lisa Campbell reported that her husband's wallet, which typically contained between $50 to $100 in cash, was missing. She suggested this indicated a robbery, but could not identify any other items that appeared to be stolen. No firearm was recovered at the scene, supporting the likelihood that the shooter had taken the weapon upon departure. The trajectory of the bullets, based on preliminary analysis by forensic technician Rafael Moreno, suggested the shooter had been standing approximately 4 feet from Anderson when firing. Officers canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing residents in adjacent apartments and nearby buildings, but no witnesses reported seeing anyone suspicious entering or leaving the building around the time of the shooting. Several neighbors confirmed hearing what they believed to be gunshots, but had not looked outside, a response that officers noted was not uncommon in areas where gunfire might be heard with some regularity. Background information gathered by Detective Germain revealed that Jordan Anderson had been employed as a warehouse worker at Gateway Distribution Center for the past 9 months, earning approximately $32,000 annually. Lisa Campbell worked as a part-time licensed practical nurse at Mercy Hospital, bringing in roughly $28,000 per year. The couple had been married for 1.5 years after dating for 6 months. They had met through mutual friends at a barbecue in Forest Park during the summer of 2020. Lisa disclosed to Detective Germain that they had been experiencing financial difficulties since Jordan's layoff from his previous position as a sales manager at Meridian Office Supplies in early 2022, a casualty of downsizing during the COVID-19 pandemic. His current warehouse position paid significantly less than his former salary of $58,000. This financial strain had reportedly caused tension in their marriage, though Lisa denied any serious conflicts. During the interview, Lisa also mentioned that Jordan had taken out a $250,000 life insurance policy in January 2022, at her urging, with Lisa listed as the sole beneficiary. She explained this decision as responsible financial planning, particularly given their precarious economic situation. On March 15, 2022, a shooting that would soon captivate the attention of St. Louis law enforcement occurred, leaving Jordan Anderson fighting for his life. To understand the full scope of the investigation, One must first examine the relationship between Jordan and his wife, Lisa Campbell. In January 2022, Jordan lost his position as a sales manager at Riverton Distributors, a victim of widespread corporate downsizing. Financial records would later show that this job loss created immediate strain on the household. After losing his primary employment, Jordan, 34, took on a series of temporary positions before eventually securing more stable work at the Eastern Gateway Distribution Center, though at significantly reduced pay compared to his previous salary. Meanwhile, Lisa, 31, continued her part-time nursing position at Barnes Jewish Hospital, working 3 12-hour shifts per week in the intensive care unit. Detective Keshen Germain of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's Violent Crimes Unit was assigned to lead the investigation following the shooting. His first steps involved piecing together the couple's history and financial situation. Bank statements revealed mounting credit card debt, with 3 missed mortgage payments on their modest home in the Benton Park West neighborhood. The forensic analysis conducted by the department's ballistics team confirmed that Jordan had been struck by 6 9mm bullets fired at close range from what was later identified as a Glock 19 handgun. 1 bullet had entered his head near the left temple, while 5 others were clustered in his torso. The proximity of the shooter suggested either an ambush or that Jordan had known his attacker. Jordan's brother, Malik Anderson, provided investigators with valuable background information. According to Malik, the couple had been experiencing frequent arguments, primarily regarding their financial difficulties. Notably, Malik mentioned that Lisa had been particularly insistent about taking out a life insurance policy on Jordan. Records confirmed that a $250,000 policy had been finalized in January 2022, just 2 months before the shooting, with Lisa listed as the sole beneficiary. Interviews with neighbors painted contrasting pictures of the couple. Calvin Rogers, who lived next door, described Jordan as the quiet, hard-working guy who seemed to be under a lot of pressure lately. Conversely, Lisa was characterized by several neighbors as outgoing, but increasingly detached in recent months. Marissa Patterson, who lived across the street, reported seeing Lisa leaving the house at unusual hours, often dressed formally, as if going somewhere special. Detective Germain also questioned Lisa's co-worker, Tara Lyman, a registered nurse who had worked alongside her for 3 years. Lyman recalled several instances where Lisa had complained about Jordan's inability to maintain financial stability. She would sometimes say things like, "I didn't sign up for this," or "This isn't what I expected when we got married," Lyman stated. However, he could provide no specific information regarding the day of the shooting. The physical evidence at the scene included blood spatter patterns in the entryway of the couple's home and Lisa's fingerprints on a side table near where Jordan had fallen. When questioned about these prints, Lisa explained that she regularly used their table to place her keys and purse when entering the home, an explanation that aligned with typical household patterns. As the investigation progressed, Jordan's medical condition remained critical. He had been placed in a medically induced coma at Mercy Hospital, St. Louis. With doctors unable to provide a definitive prognosis, the uncertainty of his survival shifted some focus of the investigation toward gathering evidence while waiting to see if Jordan would recover consciousness and potentially identify his attacker. By March 25, 2022, the investigation into the shooting of Jordan Anderson in St. Louis had reached a critical impasse. Detective Keshen Germain of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department found himself scrutinizing inconsistencies in Lisa Campbell's account of the events of February 17th. Jordan remained in a comatose state at Barnes Jewish Hospital, unable to provide investigators with his version of what transpired that evening. Several elements of Lisa's testimony raised questions among investigators. She claimed to have hidden behind the living room couch during the attack, yet forensic teams found no fingerprints, fibers, or other evidence indicating her presence there. Additionally, officers who interviewed Lisa in the hours following the shooting noted her unusually composed demeanor, which contrasted sharply with the expected psychological response to witnessing a violent attack on a partner. On March 30th, 2022, Detective Germain conducted an interview with Jordan's mother, Tamara Anderson, at her residence in University City. During this conversation, Tamara revealed that Lisa had approached her about potentially removing Jordan from life support just 3 days after his admission to the hospital, citing prohibitive medical costs and poor prognosis. Tamara strongly opposed this suggestion, insisting that her son deserved every chance at recovery. Hospital staff later confirmed to investigators that despite public displays of concern, Lisa visited Jordan infrequently. Between February 18th and April 1st, 2022, she appeared at the hospital only 4 times, with each visit lasting less than 30 minutes. Financial records obtained through subpoena revealed that on April 5th, 2022, Lisa had made a sizable withdrawal from the couple's joint savings account, transferring nearly $10,000 to her personal account. She provided no explanation for this transaction. Furthermore, investigators discovered that she had recently increased her credit card spending and taken out additional loans. There was a growing sense among the investigative team that financial pressures may have played a significant role in the shooting. With mounting circumstantial evidence and growing doubts about Lisa's version of events, Detective Germain requested a court-ordered search of the couple's home on April 10, 2022. It was there that they found crucial evidence. Hidden in a closet in the master bedroom, investigators uncovered a gun safe containing a Glock 19 handgun, the same make and model identified by ballistics experts as the weapon used in the shooting of Jordan Anderson. The discovery of the Glock 19 in the couple's home marked a turning point in the investigation. Forensic examination confirmed that the firearm had been registered in Lisa's name, a detail Lisa had failed to mention in her interviews with investigators. On April 12, 2022, Lisa was arrested and charged with attempted murder, armed criminal action, and first-degree assault in connection with the shooting of Jordan Anderson. Detective Germain stated, "The case has evolved from a possible robbery gone wrong to a calculated and deliberate attempt on the life of Jordan Anderson." In the days following Lisa's arrest, a deeper investigation into the couple's financial situation revealed a series of troubling patterns. According to family and friends, Lisa had expressed growing dissatisfaction with her marriage, particularly with Jordan's inability to maintain stable employment. Her history of manipulative behavior, including coercing Jordan into taking out a large life insurance policy shortly before the shooting, raised further suspicions. Though Jordan had made it clear to friends and family that he felt trapped in his financial predicament, he was reportedly unaware of his wife's involvement in these troubling circumstances. Detective Germain, though careful to maintain the integrity of the investigation, was certain that Lisa's actions were driven by a desire for financial gain. He noted that her behavior following the shooting, as well as the discovery of the Glock 19 and her secretive financial activities, pointed to a planned and premeditated crime. Further investigation would determine whether Lisa had orchestrated the entire incident in an attempt to collect the $250,000 life insurance policy, with the shooting serving as the final, deadly stage of a deeply manipulative scheme. Detective Germain sat across from Lisa Campbell in the sterile, dimly lit interrogation room. Lisa's once poised demeanor had cracked, and her nervous shifting betrayed the growing pressure. "You know why you're here, right?" Detective Germain's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. Lisa swallowed hard, her eyes darting around the room, her voice faltering. "I don't understand. What do you mean?" "We found the gun. The Glock 19, the one used to shoot Jordan." Germain leaned forward, his gaze sharp. "It was hidden in your house, Lisa, and it's registered in your name." Her body stiffened, and her breath hitched. I don't know what you're talking about. I never owned a gun." Germain remained composed, unaffected by her protests. "We have evidence. Withdrawals from your accounts. Payments that can be traced back to the attempts you've made to clear your financial mess. All of it leads back to you." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You tried to kill your husband, Lisa. You had a plan to take him out and collect the insurance money. You thought that would fix everything." Lisa's hands trembled, and she looked away, her eyes glassy. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. "It was supposed to be a way out. I thought maybe I could scare him, make him think it was a robbery, a random attack. But when I saw the blood, it was too late. I didn't mean for it to happen like that." Germain leaned back in his chair, watching her carefully. He'd seen his fair share of criminals, but there was something chilling about how Lisa admitted to her actions, even if she was still trying to justify them. "You could have walked away," he said softly. "You didn't have to do this." "I was drowning," Lisa replied, her voice cracking. Jordan wasn't getting better. The bills kept piling up. We were suffocating. I thought if I could just take him out, the insurance would cover everything. I didn't think it would go this far. Germain nodded slowly, a mixture of frustration and sorrow crossing his face. It's never just about the money, Lisa. It's about choices. And now you're going to face the consequences of those choices. Tears welled in Lisa's eyes as she finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Her entire world was crashing down around her. She had been so sure that her plan would work, but now it was unraveling before her eyes. At the Barnes Jewish Hospital, Tamara Anderson sat by her son Jordan's bedside, holding his hand tightly. The constant beep of the machines was a cruel reminder of how fragile his life was. He was unconscious, his body battered, and the doctors had said it would take time, if he even woke up. She whispered softly to him, her voice breaking. "Please, baby boy, please come back to me. I don't know what I'll do without you." Just then, the door to the room creaked open, and Detective Germain entered, followed by a nurse who stepped aside as the detective walked toward her. "Mrs. Anderson, we need to talk," he said gently, his tone serious. Tamara's heart skipped a beat. She stood up, her body tense. "What's going on? Is it about Lisa?" Germain nodded. "Yes, it's about Lisa. We've gathered enough evidence. She's been arrested. The gun, it's in her name, and we have her confession." Tamara's face drained of color as she stumbled back, her mind racing. "What do you mean? Is he?" Germain shook his head. "He's still critical, but we've got enough to move forward with charges. Lisa planned to kill him. She staged it as a robbery, but it was cold, calculated. She thought she could claim the insurance money and escape her debt." Tamara's heart shattered as the weight of the revelation hit her. I never imagined this. I thought I raised her better than this." Her voice was raw, filled with disbelief. "I'm sorry," Germain said, his voice softening, "but we're going to make sure justice is served." The trial began weeks later, and the courtroom was filled with tense anticipation. Lisa Campbell sat in the defendant's chair, her once confident posture now slumped and defeated. Her lawyer whispered something in her ear, but Lisa didn't seem to be listening. She was lost in her thoughts, probably wondering how everything had gone so horribly wrong. The prosecutor, Erica Davis, stood up, her voice steady and strong as she addressed the judge. "Your Honor, we present to you a case of premeditated murder. Lisa Campbell planned the death of her husband, Jordan Anderson, in an attempt to claim the life insurance policy and escape her mounting debts. We have forensic evidence, financial records, and Lisa's own confession." Tamara sat in the gallery, her hands clenched into fists. Her face was a mixture of anger and sorrow as she listened to the prosecutor lay out the damning case against Lisa. "This wasn't a crime of passion," Davis continued. "This was calculated. Lisa Campbell knew exactly what she was doing. And now, because of her actions, an innocent man's life was almost lost." The courtroom fell silent as Erica's words hung in the air. Lisa lowered her head, her eyes brimming with tears, while her lawyer tried to maintain some semblance of defense, though it was clear the case against her was overwhelming. The verdict came down just a few days later. The jury foreman stood and announced, "We, the jury, find the defendant Lisa Campbell guilty of attempted murder, armed criminal action, and first-degree assault." Lisa's face turned ashen as she stared at the ground, unable to process the full weight of her conviction. Her attorney's head hung low, and her family's eyes were filled with disappointment. Tamara, however, let out a long breath, the tension in her shoulders easing just a fraction. She had fought so hard to bring this to justice, and now it was over. Her son's life would not be in vain. As the courtroom began to clear, Tamara stood up, her face set with determination. No matter how long it took, she would be there for her son. He was still fighting for his life, and now, at least, Lisa would answer for her crimes. Tamara walked out of the courtroom, her eyes stinging with unshed tears, but her heart was heavy with resolve. The case against Lisa had been a brutal journey, but now that it was over, the weight of it all seemed almost unbearable. The thought of Jordan still lying in a hospital bed, his fate uncertain, consumed her thoughts. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her out of the dark space her mind had wandered into. It was a message from the hospital. "Jordan has shown signs of improvement. The doctors are optimistic, but it's still too early to tell." A sliver of hope crept into Tamara's chest, and she felt a brief but potent flicker of gratitude for her son's resilience. No matter how hard life hit him, Jordan had always been strong, stronger than she ever knew. As she made her way to the car, she clenched her fists in determination. This was far from over, but at least she knew that now she had a chance to help him heal. Days passed, and Jordan's condition continued to improve, albeit slowly. Tamara spent every moment at his side, keeping a steady vigil as the doctors carefully monitored his progress. It was exhausting, both mentally and physically, but she wouldn't leave him. She couldn't. It was during one of these long nights, as she sat quietly beside him, that the hospital room door opened softly. Detective Germain stepped in, looking more like someone who had just returned from a long day at work than someone who had just closed one of the most chilling cases of his career. "Mrs. Anderson," he said quietly, stepping closer. His usual demeanor was replaced by one of rare sincerity. "How's Jordan doing today?" Tamara offered him a weak smile. "Better, thank you for asking." Germain nodded, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. "I wanted to let you know that Lisa's sentencing will be next month. The judge is aiming for a maximum sentence. Her lawyer's trying to negotiate for a lesser charge, but the evidence is pretty damning." Tamara's jaw clenched at the mention of Lisa's name. She didn't know how to feel about the upcoming sentencing. Part of her wanted to scream, to demand the maximum punishment for the woman who almost killed her son. But another part of her felt empty. She had won the battle, but the war was far from over. "You must have a lot of questions about everything that happened," Germain continued. "I know this is a lot to process." Tamara shook her head slowly, her mind clouded with emotions she couldn't quite articulate. "I just don't understand how she got so far gone. I was her friend. I trusted her." Germain's expression softened. "Sometimes people change, and it's not always a clear path. But the most important thing now is that you and Jordan can heal. That's what matters." She nodded, grateful for his understanding, but the reality of it all still felt surreal. She was supposed to feel a sense of closure, but instead, there was an ache that wouldn't go away. Germain stood up, preparing to leave, but paused at the door. "I'll check in with you soon. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to call." Tamara managed a small smile. "Thank you, Detective. I appreciate it. Each other, and that was enough." As the door clicked shut behind him, Tamara sat back in her chair, her gaze returning to Jordan's still form. He was sleeping peacefully now, but the memories of everything that had led to this moment swirled in her mind. Her son's near death, Lisa's betrayal, and the months of fear and uncertainty, they all collided in one unshakable thought. She was stronger than she had ever known, and she would keep fighting. For Jordan, for herself, for the future they would rebuild. Weeks later, as Jordan finally regained enough strength to leave the hospital, Tamara knew that their journey toward healing was just beginning. She couldn't change the past, and no amount of justice would ever fully erase the pain. But as she stood in the hospital parking lot, holding her son's hand as they made their way toward the car, she felt a small but powerful sense of peace. Jordan was alive, Lisa had been caught, and Tamara would move forward. They both would. The road ahead might still be difficult, but at least now they had each other, and that was enough. If you found strength in Tamara's story, or see a piece of yourself in her journey, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Healing isn't easy, but it's possible. Don't let the struggles of life keep you from moving forward. Reach out for support, take a step toward recovery, and know that no matter the battle, you are not alone. If you or someone you know is facing a similar challenge, connect with us today. Let's build a community of support and resilience together. Your story isn't over yet.